So let's say you are having a dream and you find yourself walking along the road on a sunny day. And then you realize suddenly that you are walking through a dark tunnel. But when you look up, you can still see the sky. And there's a shark flying through the sky. And your mind in your dream is confused because it knows that sharks can only be in the ocean. But you try to ignore it because in dreams, no matter how weird or ridiculous something is, you just try to ignore it and move on. And then you see a car in the dark tunnel, and the car is brightly lit, though you have no idea where the light is coming from. And you recognize it. It's your car. And you wonder, how did this get here? But that's okay. These things happen. And the driver's side door is open, and you look up, and that shark is now gnawing its teeth at you and coming straight towards you. And you try to run as fast as you can to the car door to get inside and slam the door shut, but your feet won't move, and you are pushing your legs and feet, yet your body seems frozen in time. Finally, you reach the car door, go inside, shut the door, and you want to start up the engine, but the only thing in your hand is a dinner fork, a fork. And you think maybe you can start the engine with that fork, because often in dreams, if you have noticed, you are willing to give the ridiculous a try. So you start pushing the fork into the keyhole for the ignition just as the shark smashes the car's side window, and its huge, horrifying teeth are about to wrap itself around your head. That's when you wake up. Hello and welcome back to the Allan Kardec USA channel, where we discuss the doctrine of Spiritism as codified in his writings by Allan Kardec. So today we are going to talk about dreams and dreaming, which is an interesting and fun topic to talk about. I think everybody has talked about dreams they've had at some point in their lives, right? I should tell you, however, that I have been meticulously researching dreams for the past few months in preparation for this presentation, both scientifically and how it is explained by Spiritism. And I can tell you that for the most part, why we have dreams and what it means is still mostly a mystery. There are people, scientists and researchers who study dreams for a living. They are called oneirologists, working in the field of oneirology, the scientific study of dreams. And even the best oneirologists can't fully explain everything there is to know about dreams. Now, Spiritism, on the other hand, and other religions for that matter, does have quite a bit to say about dreams. The Christian Bible talks about dreams all throughout the Bible. The Spirit's book by Allan Kardec has an entire chapter devoted to the subject. The chapter is titled The Emancipation of the Soul. Another word for emancipation is freedom, to be free. Remember how Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation when Lincoln pushed for the end of slavery in the United States, calling for slaves to be set free. In this case, your soul, which is actually your spirit, is a kind of a slave to your human body. And that is how the Spiritist doctrine pretty much describes how the spirit sometimes feels as a slave to your body. And the freedom that it gets when released is described as a great joy for that spirit. In the Spirit's book, The Emancipation of the Soul talks about how the soul becomes free from the body when we go to sleep. When the soul becomes free of the body, it is now called a spirit, your spirit. And your spirit, you, then travel freely in the spirit world. For the most part, the spirit very much enjoys this time. Remember that the human body must rest to recover its energy, but your soul, the spirit, requires no bodily rest, so to speak. So it usually enjoys immensely this time to join with loved ones you have had on this earth whom have passed away. Remember that the spirit is you in true form. It is you as you know yourself, your emotions, your personality, your memories. We are talking about you, not a spirit with a different identity. And when you are traveling freely in the invisible world, in the universe, you are visiting your dear family and friends from this life on earth whom have passed away, and from previous lives that you have lived, from previous reincarnations. Because while we are not really allowed to have detailed memories of our past lives, our reincarnations from maybe hundreds of years ago, your spirit is allowed to have those memories. So, as your soul is released from your body and may travel throughout the universe in spirit form, it may be said that this is exactly the same thing that happens when you die. The only difference is that when you're asleep, your soul is released temporarily, and after you die, your soul is released permanently. In the Spirit's book, for question number 402, Allan Kardec asked the Spirit the following: how can we confirm the fact that a spirit is free during sleep? The Spirit provides a long answer, but I'll just note the last part of it here, when the Spirit stated, "From these facts you should once more learn not to fear death, because you die daily." Simply saying that we die every night when we go to sleep. The Spirit that answered Kardec's question is making a comparison. Of course, we can't accept that literally. For one, the body doesn't die as it is resting. It says in the Bible, in Hebrews chapter 9, verse 27, just as people are destined to die once, or men to die once, depending which version of the Bible you read, and after that, to face judgment. Meaning that men, mankind, or the human body can only die one time and never come back to life. And after that, the detached soul, or spirit, is judged on the progress that he or she made, and eventually returned to Earth or another world by the process of reincarnation to continue that progress. It's kind of like moving from one grade up to the next grade in school. So we don't die daily in that sense. And your soul, your spirit, doesn't die at all. The spirit, once created by God, lives eternally, forever. The spirit never dies. So once again, to say that we die daily is just a comparison of how the soul leaves the body every time we go to sleep and after the body dies. Dreams are a very curious thing, right? Most of them don't even make sense. Just a lot of weird and very strange and confusing things going on. Things that are totally bizarre. Sometimes you have a dream that's wonderful and beautiful. Sometimes it's something horrifying, when your life is in danger and you are running from something and your legs don't move, so you aren't able to get away, or your teeth are all falling out of your mouth. Sometimes the dream is extremely embarrassing and you actually you can sense and feel a huge amount of shame and embarrassment, such as suddenly finding yourself out in a public place, people all around you, and when you look down, you realize that you are completely naked, and you don't know what to do to hurry up and get some clothes on. And those are the times when you wake up and you are thanking our Heavenly God that it was just a dream. But sometimes you have a dream that for a few moments after you wake up, you wish that you had not woken up, or wish that it had lasted much longer. Think about the times that you have had a dream and you are experiencing a wonderful moment with someone else in that dream. You feel such sheer joy at being reunited with that person. There is so much love and emotion being felt between the two of you. Those moments are so beautiful that you don't want it to end. You are looking at the person's face, and you are so grateful that this moment is happening. The happiness that you are feeling is overwhelming, and you can't take your sight off that person's beautiful face. And then you wake up. At first, you may sense some sadness or possibly even feel a little upset that you woke up. And in those first few minutes after waking up, a clear image of that face that you saw in your dream is still visible in your mind, in your memory. And you come to realize, now here's the kicker, you come to realize that you don't even know who this person was. You have never seen this person before in your lifetime, and you have absolutely no idea who that was. But you absolutely loved being with that person in your dream. You obviously knew who it was and had strongly felt that you had known that person for quite some time. The Spiritist Doctrine will tell you that even though we aren't allowed by nature or in God's plan to have memories of our past lives, that you did in fact experience seeing someone from a past life. That device installed in us as humans that has erased past lives from our memories and erases our dreams, because that's what it seems like. That's what it feels like. Some kind of eraser, like the eraser on a pencil, designed to wipe out from our mind memories of our dreams. Usually one wakes up from a dream, and by the time that person is in the bathroom brushing his or her teeth or brewing that morning cup of coffee in the kitchen, it's gone. Memories of the dream has faded away, and very rarely do we continue thinking about the dream much longer afterward. But while nature has installed that eraser in us for dreams and past reincarnations, for a moment we were allowed to have a glance at an experience into a past life, and seeing and being with someone who you loved or still do love very much. And that is what I prefer to believe, because other explanations don't make much sense to me. One theory tells of how we have multiple dreams throughout the night. And to give an example, you may have met that person, let's say at 1 o'clock in the morning. Remember that you are asleep. Then you had another dream sometime later, maybe about 2 o'clock in the morning. And by this time, you have developed a friendship or close relationship with that person. By 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and yet another continuation of this dream series, you and that other person have developed strong feelings for each other, and the love just continues to grow. So that by 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, that is when you are experiencing immense joy at being with that person that you are now very familiar with. And that's when you wake up. Your mind has no idea, no memory whatsoever of the developing relationship throughout the night, because you have no memories of all those dreams. You can only remember the most recent one, which occurred right before waking up. But this would mean that your mind had to create a face that you had never seen. And I just can't fathom fully creating, fully inventing a person's face. That just doesn't make sense that the mind could do that, or if it's even possible for the mind to do that. So in this case, I'd prefer to believe Spiritism explanation. And if I know for a fact that my mind didn't simply produce a person, produce a face, and I know for a fact that I have never met or known this person in this lifetime, what explanation does that leave? I spoke earlier about the eraser device in us with regard to dreams, but I have learned that, believe it or not, there are several strategies that you can use to train yourself to remember dreams. There are many, and I don't have time to go over all of them now, but if you Google ways to remember your dreams, you will run across some really good publications on the subject. What seems to be the best one is maintaining a dreams journal at your bedside, and as soon as you wake up, make it a habit to reach for the journal and a pen and jotting down notes while the dream is still fresh in your mind. I remember once seeing an article about the author Stephen King, or maybe it was a TV interview, I'm not sure. You've heard of Stephen King, right? Well known for horror stories such as Carrie and The Shining. I read a few of his books when I was young, back in the late 1970s and early 80s. I also saw quite a few movies based on Stephen King books. Very scary stuff. Anyway, Stephen King once said that he has always kept a dreams journal beside his bed and wrote down all of his dreams every morning, and how much of that had become the plots for his books. I sure would hate to have his dreams, though. His works are very, very creepy. Anyway, I'm not sure how helpful it would be in your life or in your spiritual journey, or if it's even necessary. But if wanting to remember what you dreamed about is something that you are interested in, maybe it's something that you want to try. To be honest, I think if God and nature has installed that erasing device in us, that it is probably preferable to forget our dreams, that it is for a good reason that we are not supposed to remember them, and maybe we shouldn't be doing anything to go against that, but I'm not really sure. I mentioned earlier that when we are asleep and dreaming, we don't know that we are dreaming in our dream. But that's not always the case. Though it is extremely rare, all of us, or most of us, have experienced something called lucid dreaming, or a lucid dream, at least once or twice in our lifetime. A lucid dream, sometimes also called a vivid dream, is when we, in our dream, realize that we are dreaming. It's like you are having a dream and suddenly a light goes off in your mind and you say to yourself, hey, this is a dream. I'm in a dream right now. And you have a memory of that event after you wake up. Some researchers of sleeping and dreams have also come up with some techniques to train people on how to have lucid dreams, to learn how to be self-aware during your dream that you are dreaming. Apparently, there are ways to teach you how to do this. Once again, if this is something that you want to try, there are publications on the web giving lessons on this. And some researchers have gone a step further to see if two people having a lucid dream, two people that might be located in two different locations, but both are asleep. If those two people can have a conversation with each other, and some of these attempts have been successful. You know, when I first read about this, it reminded me of a joke I once heard by a Cuban comedian named Alvarez Hedges. In that joke, Alvarez Hedges talks about a man who was having a conversation with his friend, and the man says to the friend, "You know, I have been having these terrible dreams lately. Every night the same dream. I dream that I leave my house on a bicycle and ride from Miami all the way to Tampa. When I wake up, I'm all sweaty and exhausted. It's terrible." And the friend says to the man, "Last night I had a dream that I met two beautiful women at the club and thought how it was a shame that you weren't there." And the man says, "Really? Why didn't you come to my house to get me?" And the friend says, "I did. But when I got to your house, they told me that you had left to Tampa on your bicycle." Anyway, regarding two people who were trained to have lucid dreams and then attempt to engage in a conversation with each other, in several successful attempts conducted by the researchers, the individuals tested would give similar accounts of having met with each other and speaking. And both had described the same conversation to the researchers performing the experiment. But like I said before, for the most part, most of our dreams are strange and totally bizarre. And one might ask, why? What is the purpose of God allowing us to experience what seems to be total junk in our brains while we sleep? And the reason is because it's a distraction, a cover for what you are actually doing, what your spirit is actually doing. Remember that you and your spirit is basically the same thing. The Spirit's Book chapter on emancipation of the soul tells us that while we are asleep, the spirit is sometimes performing certain tasks that need to be done, that need to be completed. And it's a process that may possibly take many sleep cycles throughout the body's lifetime. Sometimes, after the body dies and the spirit is released, the spirit finds that task completed or almost completed because of all the work that was already put into it. And just as we are not allowed to remember past reincarnations for a very good reason, how would you live with yourself if you knew that you were a serial killer in a past life? We also are not allowed to know about those tasks that your spirit is performing while the body is asleep. So let's say you are having a dream and you find yourself walking along the road on a sunny day. And then you realize suddenly that you are walking through a dark tunnel. But when you look up, you can still see the sky. And there's a shark flying through the sky. And your mind, in your dream, is confused because it knows that sharks can only be in the ocean. But you try to ignore it because in dreams, no matter how weird or ridiculous something is, you just try to ignore it and move on. And then you see a car in the dark tunnel, and the car is brightly lit, though you have no idea where the light is coming from. And you recognize it. It's your car. And you wonder, how did this get here? But that's okay. These things happen. And the driver's side door is open. And you look up, and that shark is now gnawing its teeth at you and coming straight towards you. And you try to run as fast as you can to the car door to get inside and slam the door shut. But your feet won't move. And you are pushing your legs and feet, yet your body seems frozen in time. Finally, you reach the car door, go inside, shut the door, and you want to start up the engine, but the only thing in your hand is a dinner fork, a fork. And you think maybe you can start the engine with that fork, because often in dreams, if you have noticed, you are willing to give the ridiculous a try. So you start pushing the fork into the keyhole for the ignition just as the shark smashes the car's side window and its huge, horrifying teeth are about to wrap itself around your head. That's when you wake up. And you let out a breath and think, oh, it was just a dream. But those kinds of dreams may linger in your memory for a while, maybe even throughout the day, or maybe even for days. So once again, scientifically speaking now, what is the purpose in life of having a stupid dream like that? However, as I explained before, there is a very good purpose, a very good reason. It serves as a mask to cover what is actually transpiring behind the scenes of that dream. It's a distraction from the tasks that the spirit is actually performing, and that you are not really entitled at this moment to have a memory of. Spiritism also teaches that some of those tasks that our spirit is performing while we sleep is actually a learning experience. We are receiving lessons in the spirit world while the body is asleep. And some of those lessons are things we need to know for this life that we are living now. Now, one will ask, how can we learn from those lessons if we have no memory of it? The same may be asked, how can we progress from reincarnation if we have no memory of what we learned in our past lives? The answer is because your soul retains an intuition. Your soul has gone through karma that punished you, so to speak, about things that you did that was bad. And because then you had to experience what you did to, say, your victims, for example, you now have no desire to do those things. While you are sleeping, you may be taught by other spirits trying to help you to do this or that, or not to do this or that. After you wake up, that intuition stays with you. You end up doing what you were told and don't do something that you were planning to do because it would be a mistake. Sometimes those intuitions may greatly help you in a certain endeavor. It is said that some of the greatest inventions throughout history resulted from a dream that the inventor had. So, in a sense, you will know what was taught to you, even though you have no detailed memory of how you received the knowledge. Maybe while you were in the spirit world during sleep, a good spirit that you know and trust and that you are very fond of tells you, hey, that argument that you had with your wife yesterday, this is for the men out there. That argument you had, guess what? You were wrong. And the spirit tells you why you were wrong and that you need to apologize to your wife. Then, after you wake up, you scratch your head and your mind is a little fuzzy, but you say to yourself, hey, you know what? I think I was mistaken yesterday. And you suddenly realize why your wife was right and you were wrong. And the next thing you know, you feel a strong urge to apologize to your wife. You get the picture on how intuition works? Another thing that we must be careful about, though, is negative influences. bad spirits telling us to do bad things, because that is also very possible while your soul has been released during sleep. It's up to you with your free will to ignore it. Who knows? Maybe while interacting with those bad or evil spirits is what causes those jumbled, crazy nightmares. And maybe the nightmare is a sign or a signal that something wasn't right with things that your spirit, things that you were being told. So, yes, while we are asleep, you're getting assistance, you're getting help and advice. You might get advice to let you know that you are in danger of harming your health. And you get this advice from a good spirit, letting you know that you are, let's say, drinking way too much soda. And sometime during the day, now after you are awake, of course, you are thirsty and you open the fridge and the soda is right there in front of you. But you don't even want to look at it. You have this strong urge to reach for the water. And every day you just keep doing that. You have no memory of what the Spirit told you, and maybe you didn't even know that your health was at risk. But that Spirit saved you from enduring a very serious health problem that was about to develop in the near future. Yet another comparison that can be made with regard to sleeping and dreaming and when you die is how while you are dreaming, in your dream, you think it's real. You don't know that you are dreaming unless it's one of those very rare lucid dreams that I spoke about earlier. Even though the weirdest and craziest things are occurring, sometimes things that you know are impossible, maybe seeing an elephant walking through your house, you still don't realize that you are in the middle of a dream. And you don't know it until you wake up. Unfortunately, this is also the case with many people after they die. They enter this strange realm and they have no idea that they are dead. Spiritism teaches us this. Those souls, now officially spirits, which is you, are simply walking around in a confused state. Their thoughts are all blurry. They wander around in places that they are familiar with, their home or workplace, and try to follow their regular daily routine, the daily routines that they had when they were alive. They can see people they know, people who are still alive. And these confused spirits talk to them, but don't understand why they are being totally ignored. But they continue to go about their day as they did while alive. Fortunately, however, they also are being approached by loved ones whom have also died and who are trying to explain that you have died, and they try to help you adjust, but you are still so confused that it still may take a long time before you do adjust. This normally happens to people who have had no belief in the beyond, no religious teachings about the afterlife. So they remain in a state of confusion and they don't know they are dead for a long time. Just as we don't know we are dreaming while we are in a dream. Allan Kardec's works will tell you that Spiritists whom have studied the Spiritist Doctrine are less likely to suffer that confusion after death. Spiritists adapt much more quickly to afterlife than those with no knowledge of Spiritism. because our minds were already taught about spirits and the invisible world, the spirit world. We know about it already. It is one of the great wonders and benefits of being a Spiritist and learning the teachings of the Spiritist Doctrine. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you are alerted when the next video is uploaded. You may also share your comments below, or if you would like to write to me personally, I can be reached at kardecusa@gmail.com. My name is Ciso. Take care and have a blessed day.